I didn't steal anything. I shouted as my voice echoed through our living room. Mom, please look at me. You know I would never steal from Dad's company. My mother folded her arms. Victor showed me the records. The money disappeared, and you were the last one in the office. I turned to my older brother. Victor, tell her the truth. He sighed and shook his head. I wanted to protect you, but I can't lie anymore. You framed me. I don't need to frame you, he replied. You did this yourself. I looked at my younger sister. Sophie, you were there that morning. Tell them what you saw. She lowered her head. Sophie, I whispered. I'm sorry. Those words hurt more than any slap. I took one step toward my mother. Please, I'm your son. She stepped back instead. Leave, she said quietly. What? Leave this house. My heart stopped. You don't mean that. I do. I searched every face, hoping someone would stop this nightmare. Nobody moved. Just then Emily walked through the front door. Emily, I said, relieved, thank God you're here. Tell them you believe me. She looked from me to Victor. Is it true? She asked. No, they are lying. Victor spoke before I could continue. The evidence is clear. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I never thought you could do something like this. I reached for her hand. Please don't walk away. She slowly pulled her hand back. I can't marry someone I can't trust. Her words shattered me. Without another sentence, she turned around and walked out. I wanted to run after her, but my legs refused to move. My mother pointed toward the door. Go! I looked around one last time. The family photograph still hung on the wall. My father's smile stared back at me. I quietly walked into my room. Everything I owned fit inside one small backpack. Before leaving, I opened my desk drawer. Dad's old pocket watch rested inside. I held it tightly. I'll keep my promise. Dad, I whispered. A memory filled my mind. He had placed the watch into my hand only weeks before he died. This isn't valuable because of gold, he had told me. It's valuable because it reminds you that time always reveals the truth. I'll make you proud. I already am proud. His smile returned in my memory, giving me the strength to walk away. When I stepped outside, nobody followed me. The front door closed behind me. That sound stayed with me for years. Life became a battle. Some nights I slept inside bus stations. Other nights I worked until sunrise on loading trucks. People cheated me. Bosses shouted at me. Friends disappeared. More than once I wondered if my family had been right to throw me away. Whenever those thoughts appeared, I opened Dad's pocket watch. I know who I am, I reminded myself. Slowly, things changed. I learned how transportation companies worked. I drove delivery trucks. I repaired broken engines. I saved every dollar. Years later, I bought one truck, then another. Drivers began working for me. Customers trusted me. The small business became a large company. Success never erased the pain, but it gave me purpose. 15 years passed before my phone rang one rainy evening. Hello. Is this Ethan? Yes. This is Daniel. My childhood friend. It's been a long time. It has. He hesitated. I wish I were calling with better news. What happened? Your mother is very sick. Silence filled the line. I thought you should know. I looked at the pocket watch resting on my desk. For years I had imagined this moment. Anger, satisfaction, nothing. Instead, I only felt tired. Daniel spoke again. Will you come home? I closed my eyes. I don't know. You deserve answers. So do they. The next morning I packed a single suitcase. As the train pulled away, I watched familiar fields pass outside the window. I rubbed my thumb across the old pocket watch. Dad, I whispered, I'm finally coming home. Questions filled my mind. Would Mom admit she was wrong? Would Sophie finally tell the truth? Would Victor still pretend to be innocent? Would Emily even remember me? Or would they simply look at a stranger and never realize the boy they had destroyed had returned as a man they could no longer break? The train stopped, and I stepped onto the platform with one suitcase in my hand. My hometown looked smaller than I remembered. The streets had changed, but the memories hadn't. I adjusted my jacket, slipped my father's pocket watch into my palm, and walked toward the center of town. A familiar voice called out, "Ethan!" I turned and smiled. "Daniel." He hurried over and hugged me tightly. "I almost didn't recognize you." I wasn't sure anyone would. He stepped back and laughed softly. "You've changed. So has life." He looked at me carefully. "They don't know you're here. I'd like to keep it that way for now." He nodded. "Come, I'll show you what's happened." We walked through the old market. I asked, "How's the company?" Daniel sighed. "It isn't your father's company anymore." "What do you mean?" "It's still carrying his name, but Victor nearly destroyed it." "How bad?" "Worse than people know." We stopped across the street from the office building where my father had once welcomed employees with a smile. Now the paint was fading. Broken signs hung above the entrance. Employees walked inside with worried faces. Daniel whispered, "Half the staff haven't been paid on time." I frowned. "What happened?" "Victor borrowed money. For expansion. For gambling." I stared at him. "Are you certain?" "I've heard enough to believe it." Before I could answer, Victor walked out of the building wearing an expensive suit. He looked older, more tired. He never looked in my direction. Instead, he shouted at an employee, "If the shipment is late again, don't bother coming back tomorrow." The employee lowered his head. "Yes, sir." Victor climbed into a luxury car and drove away. Daniel shook his head. "That's a man who replaced your father." I looked at the building. Dad would never speak to people like that. "I know. I want to see more before I say anything." Daniel agreed. That evening I checked into a small hotel. The next morning I walked alone through town. As I passed the old church, someone whispered my name. "Ethan!" I turned. Sophie stood there. She stared at the pocket watch in my hand. Tears filled her eyes. "That's Dad's watch." I nodded slowly. "It's the only thing I never lost." She covered her mouth. "It really is you." For a long moment neither of us spoke. Finally she ran toward me and hugged me tightly. "I'm sorry." I stood still. She cried against my shoulder. "I'm so sorry." I gently stepped back. "Why didn't you speak 15 years ago?" She couldn't look at me. I was scared. "You knew." She nodded. "I knew you didn't steal anything." My chest tightened. "You knew." I saw Victor changing papers in Dad's office. I felt my heartbeat racing. "You saw him?" "Yes." "Then why stay silent?" "I was 16. You could have told Mom." "I wanted to." "What stopped you?" She wiped away tears. "Victor threatened me." I stared at her. "He said if I defended you, he'd blame me too." I closed my eyes. "So you let me leave." "I've hated myself every day since." I couldn't answer. She whispered, "Can you ever forgive me?" "I don't know." She nodded sadly. "I understand." Then she looked around carefully. "I have to tell you something else." "What?" "The money was never stolen." I frowned. "Explain." Victor had gambling debts. I remained silent. He changed the company records to hide them. He blamed me. "Yes." My hands tightened around the pocket watch. "Does Mom know?" "No. Anyone else?" "I think Mr. Carter suspected something." "My father's accountant." "Yes." "Is he still alive?" "He retired." "Where can I find him?" "I'll give you his address." Before leaving, she grabbed my arm. "Please don't tell Victor we met." "I won't." She walked away crying. That evening, Daniel knocked on my hotel door. "I have someone waiting downstairs." "Who?" "You'll see." When I entered the cafe, an elderly man slowly stood. He smiled sadly. "Ethan." "Mr. Carter." He shook my hand. "You become the man your father hoped you'd be." "I wish he were here." "So do I." He reached into his briefcase. "I kept something." He placed a thick envelope on the table. "What is this?" Copies of old financial records. I looked at him. You believe me. I never believed you were guilty. Why didn't you say something? I tried. What happened? Victor fired me before I could finish my investigation. I slowly opened the envelope. Inside were bank statements and handwritten notes. I protected these for 15 years, he said. Can they prove my innocence? He smiled. They're the beginning. Before I could ask another question, the cafe door opened. A familiar voice froze me. Ethan. I toned. Emily stood there. She looked surprised. Then her eyes moved from my tailored suit to the expensive watch beside Dad's pocket watch. I heard someone say your name, she whispered. I met her eyes calmly. Hello, Emily. She looked speechless. I can't believe it's really you. Daniel quietly stood. I'll give you 2 a minute. Emily swallowed hard. I heard you became successful. I worked for it. She lowered her eyes. I didn't expect you to come back. I didn't expect to, either. For the first time since returning home, I realized something important. The boy they had abandoned no longer existed. The man standing before them was someone they no longer recognized. I can expose Victor today, Daniel said as he spread the papers across the hotel table. I shook my head. No. Mr. Carter looked at me. Why wait? Because if I accuse him now, he'll destroy the evidence. Daniel crossed his arms. So what's the plan? We let the truth corner him. Mr. Carter smiled slightly. Your father used to think the same way. I picked up an old ledger. What do we have? He adjusted his glasses. Hidden bank transfers. Daniel added, loans taken under fake company accounts. Mr. Carter pointed at another file. And signatures that don't match. I studied every page. The numbers don't lie. No, Mr. Carter replied. People do. For the next 3 days, we quietly searched through storage boxes in Mr. Carter's garage. Dust covered everything. Daniel opened another box. More records. I smiled. Keep going. An hour later, Mr. Carter unfolded several yellow envelopes. I almost forgot these. What are they? Letters from your father. My hands trembled. Letters. He asked me to keep copies. I carefully opened the first one. The familiar handwriting immediately caught my attention. Carter, I'm worried about Victor. His spending has become reckless. If something happens to me, please protect the company from poor decisions. I stopped reading. Daniel looked at me. What else? I swallowed hard. I love both my sons, but trust must be owned. Silence filled the room. I folded the letter carefully. He knew. Mr. Carter nodded. He suspected something before he passed away. The next morning, my phone rang. Sophie, can we meet? Where? The old park. I'll be there. She was already waiting when I arrived. I found something, she whispered. What? She handed me a small notebook. I took this from Victor's office. I frowned. You stole it. I borrowed it. I opened the pages. Every entry listed gambling payments. Large amounts. Different dates. One date caught my attention. The same week I was accused. She nodded. He needed someone to blame. I looked at her. Why risk helping me now? Because I already lost 15 years. I slowly closed the notebook. Thank you. She smiled through tears. It's not enough. No, I know. Before leaving, she quietly said, Mom has started asking questions. What changed? Victor keeps changing his story. I looked surprised. Really? She noticed. That evening, I parked outside my childhood home. The living room window was open. I heard voices. Mom sounded tired. Victor, something doesn't make sense. What are you talking about? You told me the money disappeared on Monday. So, last night you said Tuesday. Victor laughed nervously. You're remembering wrong. No, I've been under stress. So have I. I heard a long silence. Then Victor spoke sharply. Why are you bringing this up now? I'm just asking. Forget the past. His voice sounded impatient. I quietly walked away. The cracks had finally appeared. The following afternoon, Emily called. Can we talk? I hesitated. Fine. We met at a quiet coffee shop. She looked nervous. I owe you an apology. You already apologized. Not properly. I stayed silent. She took a deep breath. I was young. So was I. I got scared. You believed them. I know. You never asked for my side. Tears filled her eyes. I regret that every day. I looked at my coffee. I loved you. I loved you too. Love should have included trust. She couldn't answer. Finally, she whispered, Can you forgive me? I can forgive you someday. Her face brightened, but I can't become the man I was before. The hope disappeared from her eyes. I understand. No, I said softly. I don't think you do. She nodded sadly. As I left the cafe, Daniel called. You need to come. What happened? Victor is making mistakes. I drove straight to the company warehouse. Daniel pointed toward several trucks. He sold equipment below market value. Why? To pay debts. Again, it gets worse. Mr. Carter joined us. He forged another signature. I sighed. He's panicking. Daniel looked worried. The company's almost bankrupt. Before I could answer, another car stopped beside us. A tall man stepped out. Mr. Ethan. Yes. He showed me a badge. I'm Detective Harris. I exchanged a quick glance with Daniel. What can I do for you? I've been reviewing old financial crimes. My heartbeat quickened, and I found irregular transactions connected to your case. I remained calm. What does that mean? It means the investigation should never have been closed. He handed me his card. I'll be reopening the records. I slipped the card into my pocket. Do you believe I was innocent? He looked directly into my eyes. I don't deal in beliefs. What do you deal in? The truth. As he drove away, I looked at the pocket watch in my hand. For 15 years, I had waited for someone to search for the truth instead of accepting a lie. Now the truth had finally started searching for Victor. The town hall was crowded when I arrived. Daniel stood beside me. You ready? I've been ready for 15 years. Detective Harris walked onto the stage carrying several folders. He looked around the room. Thank you for coming. Victor folded his arms. What is this about? Detective Harris answered calmly. A reopened financial investigation. I remained silent. The detective placed documents on the table. 15 years ago, Ethan was accused of stealing company funds. Victor laughed. That case was settled. No, Detective Harris replied. It was buried. The room became silent. He held up bank records. These transfers proved company money was moved into accounts connected to gambling debts. Victor's smile disappeared. That's impossible. It isn't. Another document appeared. These signatures were forged. Victor stepped backward. They are fake. Mr. Carter stood. I kept the originals. Sophie slowly walked forward. I saw Victor changing the records. My mother stared at her. You knew? Sophie cried. I was afraid. Mom looked at Victor. Tell me she's lying. Victor stayed quiet. Victor! He lowered his head. I only wanted time. Mom's voice shook. Did you frame your brother? He whispered, Yes. Gasps filled the room. I closed my eyes for 1 second. After 15 years, I finally heard the truth spoken aloud. Mom turned toward me. Her face was covered with tears. Ethan! I didn't answer. She walked closer. I destroyed your life. I remained silent. I chose the wrong son. Her voice broke completely. I'm sorry. I looked into her eyes. I begged you to believe me. I know. You never listened. I know. You threw me away. She fell to her knees. Please forgive me. The room watched quietly. Part of me wanted to walk away. Another part remembered every lonely night I had survived. I carried that pain every day, I said softly. I deserve your anger. You do. I deserve worse. I looked at her trembling hands. I don't know if I can forgive you today. She nodded through tears. I'll wait. Detective Harris approached Victor. Victor, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, and financial crimes. Victor looked around desperately. You can't do this. I can. He turned towards several business partners. Help me. Nobody moved. One man shook his head. We trusted the wrong person. Another quietly walked away. Victor looked completely alone. As officers escorted him outside, he glanced at me. You won. I calmly answered. No. He frowned. You defeated yourself. He lowered his head. After everyone left, Daniel stood beside me. How do you feel? I thought I'd feel happier. And I just feel lighter. The next morning, Emily asked to meet me. We sat beside the river where we once planned our future together. She smiled sadly. I still remember our first date. So do I. I never stopped thinking about you. I looked across the water. Life kept reminding me of you. She wiped away tears. I was foolish. You were frightened. I should have trusted you. Yes. I loved you. I smiled gently. I believe you. Hope returned to her face. Can we try again? I slowly shook my head. Her shoulders dropped. Why? Because love cannot survive where trust died. I've changed. So have I. I can spend the rest of my life proving it. You shouldn't have to. She looked confused. I forgave you. But I can't return to the past. She nodded slowly. I understand. I hope you find peace. You too. We stood together one last time before walking in opposite directions. Later that afternoon, Olivia arrived at my office. She placed several contracts on my desk. The purchase agreement is ready. I reviewed the papers. My company will own Dad's business by tomorrow. Yes. What about the employees? They'll all keep their jobs. I smiled. Good. Olivia looked at me carefully. You could have let the company collapse. I know. Why didn't you? They didn't betray me. She nodded approvingly. That's exactly why you'll succeed. I signed the final page. Olivia collected the documents. Everything is complete. I leaned back in my chair. It feels strange. What does? I came home expecting revenge. And what did you find? Responsibility. She smiled. Your father would have been proud. I looked at the pocket watch resting beside the contract. I hope so. Olivia paused before leaving. May I give you one piece of advice? Of course. Never mistake peace for weakness. I won't. She smiled again. And remember something else. What? The greatest victory isn't watching your enemy fall. What is it? Choosing not to fall with them. After she left, I looked through my office window toward my father's old company. For years, I believed justice meant making Victor suffer. Instead, justice had protected innocent people, restored my name, and freed my heart from hatred. At last, I understood that karma never needed my help. It had simply needed time. The courtroom was silent as Victor stood before the judge. He looked older than the last time I had seen him. The confidence that once filled his voice had disappeared. The judge asked, "Do you wish to make a statement?" Victor took a deep breath. Yes. He looked toward me. Ethan. I met his eyes without speaking. He lowered his head. I lied. Nobody moved. I changed the financial records. His voice trembled. I blamed my brother for money I lost through gambling. The courtroom remained completely silent. I hated him because Dad trusted him more than me. I closed my eyes for a moment. Victor continued. I destroyed 15 years of his life. He looked directly at me. I'm sorry. I answered quietly. I waited a long time to hear those words. I know. I won't pretend they erase everything. They shouldn't. The judge nodded. Your confession has been entered into the record. As officers led Victor away, he stopped beside me. I hope someday you find peace. I replied honestly, I'm already finding it. After court, Mom waited outside. She looked weaker than before. Ethan. I walked over. How are you feeling? She smiled sadly. I've had better years. We sat together on a nearby bench. I don't expect forgiveness, she said. I know. I only want a chance to know my son again. I stayed quiet. I missed 15 birthdays. You did. I missed every success. You did. I believed a lie. Yes. Tears rolled down her face. I can't change the past. No, but I can spend whatever time I have left loving you the way I should have from the beginning. I looked at her tired eyes. For years I imagined this conversation. It never felt satisfying. Finally I reached for her hand. I can't forget. I understand. But I don't want to carry hatred anymore. She squeezed my hand gently. Thank you. During the following weeks, we met often. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we simply sat together. Slowly, the silence became comfortable. One afternoon, Sophie joined us. She smiled. I brought lunch. Mom laughed softly, just like old times. I smiled, maybe better than old times. Sophie looked relieved. I've dreamed of hearing that. She became the person who held our broken family together. Whenever old memories hurt, she reminded us to keep moving forward. One evening, Emily visited my office. She carried a small suitcase. I wanted to say goodbye. You're leaving? She nodded. I accepted a job in another city. I hope it makes you happy. She smiled gently. I don't deserve another chance with you. You deserve another chance with life. She looked surprised. I'll always regret losing you. I know. She extended her hand. Friends. I shook it. Friends. She laughed softly. You become a better man than I deserved. No, I've simply learned that bitterness is too heavy to carry. She smiled through tears. I'll remember that. Take care of yourself. You too. She walked away without looking back. A few days later, I drove to the cemetery carrying my father's pocket watch. The wind was calm. I stood before his grave. Hi, Dad. I smiled. It's been a long journey. I placed fresh flowers beside the stone. They finally know the truth. I opened the pocket watch. It still ticked perfectly. You told me time would reveal everything. I looked at the engraved words inside. Truth always finds its hour. You were right. For the first time in years, I didn't feel angry. I wanted revenge. The breeze gently moved through the trees, but life gave me something better. I looked toward the sky. It gave me peace. I closed the watch carefully. Thank you for believing in me when nobody else did. As I walked back to my car, my phone rang. It was Daniel. Busy? Not anymore. We're waiting at the company. I'll be there. When I arrived, several young employees gathered around me. One nervous teenager stepped forward. Mr. Ethan. Yes. I almost quit after everyone called me a failure. I smiled. I know how that feels. What should I do? I remembered the frightened 18-year-old I used to be. Keep working. What if people don't believe me? Then let your actions speak longer than their words. He nodded confidently. Thank you. Over the following months, I started mentoring young workers who needed guidance. Each conversation reminded me why I had survived those lonely years. I wasn't rebuilding only a company. I was rebuilding hope. One evening I stood outside the office my father had built. The lights inside glowed warmly. Employees laughed as they finished another successful day. I looked at the pocket watch one last time before placing it safely into my pocket. Then I smiled. Home had never been the house where I was betrayed. Home was a life I built with my own hands, the people I chose to protect, and the peace I finally found after letting karma finish the story that revenge never could.